What's up, guys? Sunday morning, 5 o'clock. Why am I up at 5 o'clock on Sunday morning? Well, because I have things to do. And if I do those things, it makes me better. And if I do the things that I need to do and get them just completely out of the way, then I do the things that I want to do. So I guess the point is, are you operating from a position of strength or weakness? Obviously, you want to operate from strength, because when you operate from weakness, you don't get to choose the things that you're doing, right? You do them because you have to do them, or to prevent something, or out of necessity, right? Are you operating out of opportunity or necessity? Which one's better for you? Obviously, you have all the necessity done, handled, and operating on its own on autopilot, right? Then you get to operate out of opportunity. And I think opportunity sounds a lot better. Opportunity, right? When things are bad, there's always somebody that pretty much thrives, right? Great Depression, people became millionaires. All you hear about are all the people that, lost everything, right? Housing crash, 2000 whatever, and 2008, and whatever ever's coming, a lot of people are going to make a ton of money. You hear about the Depression right now. They're calling it minor recession. I think they're calling it minor inflation. But there's people just waiting right now to make a ton of money, right? Bitcoin's at what? $18,000 yesterday, I think it touched. If you got some money and you throw it in there, chances are, based on the entire history, even though people were like, Bitcoin's over, this is it. If you hear those things and you're not familiar, you should check out a website called Bitcoin Obituary, because you'll see that there are hundreds of times that major reporting has said Bitcoin's over with. But it's a trip, because there's people putting billions of dollars into Bitcoin. So opportunity or fear, right? Are you operating out of fear or opportunity? And that brings me to the point of, what content do you consume? I could have channels, and I think we're actually going to do this, have a channel or a part of a show where people just report all the shit that's wrong in their area. Because there's entire channels. I watched a dude put a video up yesterday, had been up an hour, and all he's doing is reading all the stuff, the shortages and the increases in prices, right? People want to watch that shit. It's a trip. Rather than work and plant some stuff, or, build something, or, go source some chickens, or grow some grass, or create some soil. And to most people, grow grass and create soil sounds weird, right? That doesn't make sense to a lot of people. But if you want to be self-sustained, if you want to do things of your own accord, on your own plan, you're probably going to need to produce some food. And whether you eat meat or eat vegetables, one or the other, or somewhere in the middle of both, you're going to need soil, you're going to need fertility, and you don't build fertility without animals. This was a complete, entire gravel pit. Nothing grew here. There was literally nothing here but junk trees and thorn bushes. There wasn't anything. Junk trees and thorn bushes. When we got on the property, it was so tight and nasty until we started clipping down those tall, spindly trees. We didn't even know these pine trees were here. But it all was literally, it was rock. It was this red clay. They call it chert, and it looks just like this pile here. I dug some up a couple weeks ago. That stuff right there, that's what the entire property was, that tan, brown, red stuff. And you have to build soil. And once you have soil, you can grow anything you want, whether it be meat or it be, vegetables or grass, whatever it is. And I say grass because we're going to feed grass to ruminants. We're going to feed them to sheep, and then we're only going to let them mow so far down, and then we're going to move them, and then 3 days later we're going to bring chickens in, because that's when the fly has laid larvae in the manure from the sheep. The chickens are going to eat that larva, and they're going to just rake and grind and scratch that into the dirt, and then we're going to move all the animals, and there won't be any animals on that area for 6 months minimum. Those are choices. Those are choices. It's called intensive confinement grass. I don't know what it's called. You guys can figure it out. Greg Judy, Joel Salatin, any of those. We are having these events here now because I wanted to bring the top people in the industries, no matter what that is, in the prepper space, the agriculture space, the homestead space, because those are things that I'm into, right? I think the ultimate goal of a prepper, let's just call it what it is, survivalist, right? They've co-opted that though, right? When the Tea Party started, the Tea Party sounded like something really good. And then the government took it over, and it just became, it became government. It became politics. Libertarian used to be really good. Not that it's not. For a guy that's just kind of finding his freedom, Libertarian seems pretty good. But when you look at most Libertarian, it's just been co-opted. It's just another part of the government, right? It's just another part of a political party. What you really need is anarchism. And when you hear the word anarchism, you think in your head automatically chaos, burning down the cities. You think that's bad. Well, that's because it's been co-opted. That's because that's what you've been taught in government school. And if you operate from a position of freedom, and you operate from a position of opportunity, then none of it matters, because you do what you want, because you have the ability to maneuver when the opportunity arises. You're not broke all the time. You're not waiting and beholden to somebody else to have income. And you have a mass or a small amount, like just, you have an account built up. So when the opportunity presents itself, you are able to act, because the people who are acting out of fear, they have to sell stuff, they have to move stuff, they have to get rid of stuff. We're gonna have to get rid of this extra property we bought because we got to pay, we couldn't pay our mortgage anymore because gas went up, and we couldn't afford to drive, and because gas is so expensive, we stopped doing all the extra work we were doing, and now we lost our place, so now we've got to pay rent, and rent's tripled and gas has tripled, so we got to get rid of all these things. Don't let that be you. You be the dude that can maneuver a few things, sell a few extra things, or convert into whatever to take the opportunity to get that equipment or that land or whatever it is to put yourself and your family in a better position. And if you operate right now as though you were building what you're building for your future generation, right? If you're a 20-year-old dude, I want you to think about 40-year-old you with a grandchild and building something for the kid. I want you to think about 50-year-old you and your kids having kids, right? That's what I want you to think about. When's the best time to plant trees? The best time to plant trees is 10 years ago. The next best time is today, right? I want you to think like that, because you will do different shit. Because when you are young, you will spend money and you'll have a bunch of bullshit that doesn't matter to you. 2 Porsches, a Range Rover, sitting out there where the chickens are, because they don't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me. Yes, I need to move them. No, I have not moved them. I need to move them out of there. The chickens haven't been messing with them. But the point is, that stuff right there that I bought and own, it's just sitting there. Obviously, it's not important. But front and center is a basket of firewood right here, a big, huge basket of firewood. And back there are 10 more baskets that we're about to fill with firewood. The wood's already cut. Do things out of choice. You think that the weather patterns are changing? I believe that. Do you think you need to grow some of your own food? I believe that. Do Do you think you need to work extra hard right now because tough times are coming and you might need to have a little extra money for whatever or for opportunity? I believe that. Do you think that they're talking about rolling blackouts and that electricity is ridiculously expensive and it's by design? I believe that. We brought in extra sheds. Why? Because they're great for storage and they're easier to heat and cool. The power bill on this building is almost $4,000. That's a lot of money. What if we turn the building off and when times are really hard, we just run off of a little tiny house? Why? And if times aren't tough, Airbnb the tiny house. Have some events where people come, rent out the tiny house. Use it as a classroom. That seems to be a problem we have. Our events are so big now that we don't have room for all the people to speak. We have 3 different groups of people speaking at the same time. So those are opportunities, right? Anyways, this went much longer. I don't seem to be able to put a video a lot of places beyond 10 minutes, so it cuts off. I'm going to go do the things that I have to do. Luckily, they also happen to be the things I want to do. Working out and cardio, I want to look different. When I'm 51 next year, I want people to go, man, you lost weight. Man, you look really good. Man, you don't look tired, right? Those are things people say now. I want them to continue to say that as I get older. When I have a conversation with a dude who's kind of pissing and moaning and complaining, and I go, how old are you? And he goes, I'm 50. And I go, dude, I'm 50. I don't feel any of those ways you just said. I'm not saying that to be shitty to him. I definitely don't want to be like he is. And I want him to think, man, how did John do that if we're both the same age? I just want to be an example. Right? At 50, no matter how you look at it, I'm on the downside of halfway. I'm halfway done. And I want people, if I could go back and tell 20-year-old me, I would tell 20-year-old me, do everything you do as though it's important, and if it's not important, don't do it. The time can't ever come back. You guys have a great morning. Maneuver and operate out of opportunity and not out of necessity. Out of opportunity and not out of fear. And that begins a lot with what you're watching on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. If you turn it on and the dude's always telling you some shit that's wrong, you might be looking, you should probably, shop for something different.